All right, teams we haven't talked about enough because there are always some headline teams, always the teams that have early picks or things like that tend to dominate this type of year, or teams that have made splash plays in the off-season. But there are always some teams who get neglected, whether it's just they're one of the smaller movers in the league, or they just haven't done much, or for other reasons. So, Dos, do you want to kick us off with who haven't we talked about enough that we probably need to start pointing a few things out about?
Well, we haven't spoken a lot about the Tampa Bay Buccaneers.
That's true.
And they've had a sneaky, nice off-season so far.
Okay.
Re-signing Chris Godwin to a 3-year, $66 million contract, which was a massive discount. Market value left a lot of money on the table with New England to stay in Tampa.
Yep.
You get that familiar. Yes, he's coming off the dislocated ankle that ended his 2024 season, so there's a bit of a risk there returning from that. But established receiver who plays nicely with Mike Evans, that continuous rapport or relationship with Baker Mayfield, that familiarity between those three. And assuming that Jalen McMillan continues to develop as well, it's a nice little receiving trio for Baker. Hassan Reddick, they also signed on a little 1-year prove-it deal.
Yeah, it's an interesting one.
On the edge,
He's one of those guys that, is he starting to be more liability than productivity with the things that have happened lately, or can he still contribute?
I think he can still contribute. I mean, it's a 1-year, $14 million flyer deal. It's a cheap deal. It's low risk.
Yep.
So I don't mind it at all, from that perspective. And the other as I hit the mic again, the other thing that's interesting to note here, so GM Jason Light, it's 11 years he's been in the job in Tampa and done a great job turning over this roster whilst remaining very competitive. Drafting has been a strength in Tampa Bay, keeping the core pieces post the Tom Brady 2020 Super Bowl and that era when they were in salary cap hell.
Yep.
Post that for a while, probably 2 seasons after. Dave Canales, who was their offensive coordinator, obviously now at Carolina. Then Liam Cohen has now moved on as a head coach in Jacksonville.
What county is he in again?
Who's that?
What counties?
Duval.
Yeah, that's the one.
Duval. Jacksonville. Yeah. And so, look, they continue to make playoffs, which is a strength of theirs. I think they'll be favourites to win the NFC South again with the team, provided that they draft well, they're healthy. They were banged up a lot last year, and they still managed to get through to the playoffs. They got bounced by Washington, but they've got a very solid defensive unit. I'm quite positive on the Tampa Bay Buccaneers going into 2025, and they've made a lot of just smart re-signings that kept the core players intact for next season, which I like.
What do they need to bolster, though? I think they need to bolster maybe their D-line, maybe their edge a little. Kalijah Cansey had some steps. Logan Hall's on the other side. They haven't got a heck of a lot of depth.
Well, they got Reddick on, like we just spoke about.
Yeah.
So he adds some.
Was that where they go with their
experience.
first pick then? Pick 19?
Either there or maybe linebacker, I think.
Why did you look at me then? Are you trying to...
Oh, I see. You've got pick 19, just wondering what you're thinking.
I was trying to ask Dos for some help.
Well, I
think they will go defense because
their offense is pretty good.
Their offensive line is quite good. They're a top 5 unit.
And with Jalen McMillan coming on as their third wide receiver behind Evans and Godwin, that was a big plus for them.
Well, that's where maybe they could consider taking a wide receiver later on in the draft, because you got your Evans and Godwin that are a little older now.
Yep.
And if they want Baker to be that guy for the next 7 or 8 years, like you said, he's got real good rapport with those two big gun wide receivers, and Baker needs them. Like they've resurrected his career to a point as well, going to a team with a high-powered offense. So if one of those two leave, retire, whatever happens, they need to start to replace these guys, and maybe that starts in the 2nd or 3rd round of this draft. And then
I'm not as
he can take over McMillan. It just depends if they think in the 2nd or 3rd round they can find someone, maybe on defense that will be a week 1 starter, immediate impact, then maybe they go with that. But I think if they don't see someone they really like, then if it was me,
I think he's trying to throw me off. I think he's trying to throw me off here, Dos.
I like offense. I'm not saying your first round, but
you like offense.
Yeah.
I like offense. It might surprise
Shock horror.
you.
It's like offense,
and I like depth. So
do.
if I'm the Bucks, I'm looking at trying to find a
3 quarterbacks, 4 wide receivers.
6 receivers.
I'm trying.
Deep.
If I'm the Bucks, I'm trying to find a receiver in the 2nd or 3rd round because what's Godwin?
It'd be 30 now.
Yeah,
almost.
no, he's not too bad. 29.
Okay, with the legs of an 80-year-old.
And Mike
Oh.
Evans would be.
Well, Evans is, I think, 31 or
32.
32.
He's 31. He's 32 in August. Yeah. So those 2 guys in the next couple of years will be gone. So they need to start looking at their replacements now, I think.
Yeah, wide receivers you can replace as a year basis, though. I don't think you draft for, like, to
You don't see
draft a receiver now to play in 3 years' time. Like, you don't need to do
They
that
can
in the
impact
NFL.
quickly.
I think you do have to.
No, you don't.
Running backs can impact straight away, but a lot of receivers don't. Like a lot of these guys have.
Not for the Pats, they don't.
It's
Pats
only
have
because
never
New
drafted
England,
a receiver
it's only
that
'cause New England
impacts.
can't draft any.
Not talking, I didn't talk about Pats.
Sorry,
Don't have
sorry.
to take a dig like that. Just because your Chiefs got
Don't-
absolutely belted.
I didn't
in
need,
the
to
Super
take,
Bowl.
didn't need to take a step on Diggs.